Hey, my friends. I wanted to do a really quick word of encouragement. I was talking to a client last week, and she's like, you should make a video about this too. I was like, okay, I'll do that. So here we go. So it's about the hero's journey, right? And I had this aha moment at one point in recovery where I realized I was watching like all the Marvel movies. My husband was introducing me to all the Marvel movies, and I was like, wow, this is so accurate. In terms of the journey and what it feels like when you're in it. And I started to see it from a different perspective, where I realized, like, watching these movies from the outside is so inspiring. And it started to change. My perspective started to shift when I was in it myself, and I began to be like, oh, so when, like, it looks like the world's falling apart and nothing is going according to plan, and you're just like literally trying to come up with more creative ideas out your ears to like figure out how to keep moving forward and find a solution and all the things, that means you're doing it right. When things feel doomed, when they feel impossible, when you're covered in injuries and blood and gore and all this. By the way, sorry, I didn't warn. This is not like a beginner recovery. This is for those of you who've been on the journey for a while, and a lot of times, especially in later stages of recovery, you're unraveling all this trauma from your early childhood. You're unraveling all these patterns that led to you having whatever it is, limbic system impairment, addiction, serious codependency issues, whatever it is, fawn response stuff, just whatever's coming up, trauma processing. I mean, there's so many things that come up later in recovery where once you get through the first stuff, you're unraveling so much stuff, and you can feel like you're going backwards. You can feel like your life is falling apart. You can feel like, well, I have to revamp all of my relationships to people, to food, to movement, to work. Like, I have to kind of redesign every single aspect of my life. And for that to happen, we kind of like, a lot of times those aspects of our lives have to unravel so that we can rebuild them properly, on a solid ground, on a solid foundation. So yeah, but it really helped me in those moments when I felt like life was just really overwhelming and difficult and everything was falling apart in my recovery. Especially, again, this is like later stage recovery, kind of reintegration, core belief in reintegration, kind of to per my video on the 3 stages of recovery, stage 2 and 3, but more stage 3, when you're reintegrating into your life and you're like, oh wow, I have to revamp how I do all of this. And yeah, it can just feel really, it can look really impossible, it can feel difficult, it can feel like you're doing everything wrong and like there's no hope. That's very normal. So I've taken that and made it a sign that I'm on the right track, that this is the hero's journey. And that's really what recovery is being on that hero's journey and reclaiming yourself, reclaiming your life, or maybe claiming it for the first time. But it is a hero's journey. So it's going to feel like that sometimes. And if you're in that right now, I just want to offer this to you as comfort. That means you're doing it right. That means you're on the right path. That means you're on the right track. So if that's helpful to you to think of it that way or look at it that way, remind yourself it doesn't look the same on the inside as it does on the outside. I mean, these things, before you go through this experience, those hero's journeys, they look really exciting and glamorous and glorious and, all of these things. Then you get into it and you're like, it doesn't look like that on the inside. So, it can be really encouraging, though, sometimes to go back and maybe watch a movie that follows that hero's journey and ask yourself, what do these people do in those dark moments? They call upon each other. They call upon their inner resources. Even when they're working together, they all have their own unique skill set. They all have their own, place and their own role that they're playing, and they're totally focused on doing their own thing. And they come together and they butt heads sometimes and get in fights, and it causes issues with the whole thing going forward. And that's so much like life. It's so relatable. It's just part of what it is to be human. It's okay. It's okay. So I just offer this as kind of a comfort for those in the trenches, because I think we really need all the help we can get, when we're in that space. So for those of you in the long haul, for those of you doing the deep work, this is for you. You've got this. You have what it takes. Trust yourself, trust your creativity, trust your journey, validate your path, discover your unique powers, your unique skills, and use them to leverage you. You've got skills that no one else has. And a lot of times when we start recovery, that feels like a disadvantage, but you can, whatever you're good at, whatever you are good at, you can make that work for you. So embrace your uniqueness and make it work for you. All right. I love you all, my friends, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah!